All right. So listen, for the last 3 days, we just got done with our prospecting challenge for Q4 with all of the agents that we coach. And in the last 3 days, we set 338 listing appointments. And we're going to send the winner on a 5-day cruise, all paid for trip. So super excited about that, you guys. I want to talk to the audience about some takeaways and some learnings, some insights, so that the audience who was not part of the prospecting challenge can get some insights to help them set some more appointments. So before we jump into today's conversation, if anybody in the audience hasn't done so already, our brand new script book that all of us have been working on for seems like months and months and months and months is now available. So the link is in the description right underneath this video. Feel free to grab a copy and start using it right away. So let me do this. Let me share my screen, you guys, and then I want to show the audience kind of the results. So I'm logged into our Sisu account for all of our coaching clients. And here's what happened. All right, so this is just over the 3-day prospecting challenge. We had over 10,000 contacts. We set 338 listing appointments in 3 days, which was absolutely insane. We prospected for over 1,800 hours, and we generated over 1,000 leads in our seller database. This is for our agents, and they built their business. They built their pipeline. It was a really, really cool day. I guess let's start this off by what are some of the takeaways or insights that you guys got from the event? And then we'll talk about the importance of how and when to ask for appointments. So Dominic, let me go to you first. What were some big ahas for you?
Yeah. So this was an eye-opening event because, as you know, we have a good sized Facebook group here, and a lot of the members interact with us regularly. And the biggest takeaway for me is that students and members here that haven't normally had a lot of success setting appointments were all of a sudden setting a lot of appointments. And the reason is because of the training that led up to this challenge, wherein we kind of removed the inhibitions that some people have around asking for an appointment. They just went for the appointment when it became apparent in the conversation that it was appropriate to do so, instead of getting all the way through the script until the end and then maybe firing. They just asked for the appointment when DART was in place, right? That you've trained us on DART. There's desire to move, ability to move, reason to move, timeline. Boom. Hey, would it make sense? I don't know anyway. So I noticed that people that don't normally ask for the appointment started asking for it, and they were getting it. They were going live in the Facebook, and they were getting appointments. It was great.
Absolutely. Ben, how about you? Insights over the last 3 days?
Yeah, I believe that a lot of times, just like, you know, we use sports a lot, but we can get like really mechanical. We can really focus on, you know, a golf swing, the grip, the takeaway, the transition, impact, all these things. And we get really like robotic. And one great thing that the team decided to do is just focus on appointment set, right? Let's just get the ball in the hoop. Let's just get the ball in the goal. That's all we're focused on. And then you just let your training, your preparation take over, and that's it. And you're just focused on that one single thing. And I think a lot of people for 3 days, they got into a sense of flow, right? Where they're not even thinking about it. They're just going through the motions. They're doing the actions. Their preparation has taken over. And then they just get into a rhythm where they just can't miss, which is super fun. And a lot of people got results that they've never experienced before, and now set a new bar of what's possible.
Yeah, speaking about, you know, that, let's just here's some examples, right? So if you guys can see my screen, the listing appointments that we set, I mean, you see this is in 3 days, right? So we had some people set 25 listing appointments in 3 days. We had another person with 21 listing appointments in 3 days. We had a few that set over 10 appointments. You could see on the screen how many these people were setting. A lot of them said, I set more appointments in the 3-day prospecting challenge than I have in the last few months. in the last few months. And I think what Ben said was really was spot on, which was we don't have to think about, because there was a contest and there was some intention around setting appointments and we were giving away a trip. It was like, I just want to set the appointment. And the purpose of the challenge was to do exactly that, is to get laser focused on one thing so that the mind can have a singular focus, right? And you didn't have to worry about your script or overthinking it, or analysis paralysis, or who am I going to call? What am I going to say? What if they say that? What if they say this? You didn't have to think about any of that. You were just going into this experience saying, I just need to set an appointment. And people surprise themselves. And so let's get into, I think, those are some great insights. I want to get into some tactical things that I think people really learn too. Dominic was just alluding to a couple of them. Number one, and I'll tee this up, and then I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Based on the conversations I had with a lot of the agents, was that they couldn't believe how many, what it did was it opened their eyes to realize how many appointments they've been leaving on the table for their entire career. Because again, we just showed some of the results. It's not often that somebody sets 25 listing appointments in 72 hours, right? It would usually take somebody to get that many appointments. It would usually take a couple months to produce the same result that these people got in 3 days. Well, why? Well, it showed them that when we hear any type of motivation, that's the sign that it's appointment setting time. There's nothing that says you have to get through all 10 questions on the script before you ask for the appointment. Oftentimes, you try to get through the whole script and it screws you up. And so, first thing for me, you guys, is exactly what Dominic said. And this is what we've been focused on with the agents that we coach often, is as soon as you ask a motivating question around the DART framework and you find out somebody has motivation to sell, it's jumping right into fighting for the appointment. It's no, let me ask a few more questions. It's none of that. It's let's get into an appointment. Somebody wants to sell their house. I mean, that's why we make phone calls. We're not making phone calls to get friends. We're not making phone calls to get our emotional needs met. We're not making phone calls to do anything else but to get appointments. And it's only when we don't get the appointment that other things can occur, like generating a lead. But I'm not even talking about that right now. We prospect for appointments. And the appointments is when we do the selling. So Ben, tell me about that. Kind of give me your thoughts on that first point.
100%. And maybe we're going to get more into this, but
go ahead. Yeah, jump into it.
I mean, I think we oftentimes, it's like, well, Brandon, I didn't make my 40 contacts today, or I didn't generate my 2 leads. But Brandon, like, I set 2 appointments. Today was a fail. It's like, can you unpack that for us a little bit? Because I think that is such a crucial thing to keep in mind.
Yeah. Yes. This has everything to do with, I think agents lose focus on what it is that we're doing, and they get such in this rut of like, I know I've got a prospect, so they're just checking the box. I know my business plan says I need 27 contacts. So they get into like that contact-itis, right, Dominic? Yeah. And it's like, well, I set 2 appointments, but I only got 16 contacts, Brandon. What am I doing wrong? And I say, well, hold on, pause, wait a minute. What's wrong with that? If your goal is, wouldn't it be better that if your goal was to get 4 listings a month and you spoke to 4 people, you set 4 appointments, you went on those 4 appointments and you took all 4 listings? What's wrong with that? You see, the only time that contacts matter and everything else in the conversion funnel matters is if you're not producing the result. And so we always have to start with the end in mind to say, what is it? What is this activity? What am I looking to produce? Oh, it's an appointment. And over the last 72 hours, these people said, I cannot believe how many appointments I set simply because I focused on it when my entire career, I have been assuming that these consumers didn't want to meet with me. But by having the courage to ask for what I want, lo and behold, I got what I want. So yeah, it's crazy. Dominic, go ahead. What do you want to add to that?
So I would add one more layer to that I'm sure you would agree with, and that is that because of the contest, we had people that set an appointment, and instead of saying, "Woohoo, I set an appointment, I'm done," they stayed on the phone and kept driving forward, looking for more appointments. And the side effect of that was all these leads that are generated because an appointment wasn't there, but because we asked for the appointment. Right. So now you're not only getting that appointment this afternoon or tomorrow afternoon, but you're generating a lead, which is filling your pipeline. And that's what rounds out our business, right?
100%. Yeah, you're talking about redlining now, because that was the other benefit. And Ben, you had brought this up a couple of weeks ago, and it's such a phenomenal thing that occurs when a human being really stretches their comfort zone. And that was the other big goal that we wanted to show these agents, that over the course of 3 days, when you had a singular focus, you had a goal, it would put you into this redlining perspective, which is simply when you stretch your comfort zone, it actually opens up new neural pathways. It opens up a new frame in which you can look through life, because for many people that perhaps had a limiting mindset of like what was possible and what was not possible, they crushed all of that limiting mindset. They absolutely destroyed it. And even for those that didn't produce 10, 15 appointments, they saw other people do it, which also opened up this new opportunity, this new world to look through. Because we've stretched the boundaries so much, it opens up the mind to what's possible. And now people, as they look forward, they say, well, listen, now it's up to me. There's no more limiting belief. There's no more victim mentality. I've witnessed it. I've experienced it before. I've done it before. So now it's just a matter of, like you're saying, Dominic, moving forward, I know I can produce amazing results. It's just a matter of will I or will I not? Right?
Yeah. Yep,
so, 100%. Yeah. If I'm in the audience right now, I'm saying to myself, okay, people set, 11, 12, 18, 21 appointments. What is it that they're saying that is causing them to get these types of results? So what I'd like to do is just kind of break down maybe our appointment setting framework for the audience. I think might be really, really helpful. If you haven't got the script book, get it, download it. You'll see exactly how this works. But let's just talk through this, guys, for just a second. So we may ask some type of desire question. And when we ask a desire question, not all the time, but typically we want to have it to be a question that has no orientation versus yes orientation. This is tactic number one. And this isn't a broad brush. I'm just saying most of the time you will have a better result if the questions you're asking around motivation have a no orientation. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, if I'm asking a question, and Dominic, let's just say, is an expired listing, one of the first desire questions that I might ask is, rather than saying, hey, are you still wanting to sell the home? That is a question that is yes orientation. And because most of the time we deal in reflex resistance when we prospect, this is why most agents don't get great results, as you both know very, very well. They say, nope, not interested. And then that agent's like, well, how would I overcome that objection? If you were to change the frame on how you ask the question, I bet you get a better result, which is what's happening. So you might ask a question like this. We're going to put out the stimulus that we know Dominic wants as an expired listing. So I might say something like, Dominic, can I ask you something before I let you go? He says, sure. I say, listen, I don't know if this would be useful for you or not. But if you got the offer you were looking for with the price and terms that you wanted, or even more, I mean, is that something you'd be totally against? And now it changes the dynamic on how the brain responds to that, because we take the person out of binary thinking. When you say, hey, are you interested in selling your house? It's a reflex, nope, not interested, take me off your list. It's instant, it's binary, it's black and white. When we ask a no-oriented question, it throws the pattern of thinking off. Dominic, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, that's how we're trained to do it. And I ask that question pretty much every single day. If you got an offer right now, the next week, with the price and terms that we're looking for, would you reject that?
Exactly. I love it. Would you reject that? Yeah. And now we're looking for the prospect to answer the question with a no, which makes the hypothesis true. Right? And so I'm not going to get too scientific right now, Ben. I know you and I spent a lot of time on that. I don't want to confuse the audience, but that's why no-oriented questions are so powerful, because it's the person's responding to the stimulus in a way where it's like, no, that's exactly what I want. Well, when that happens, step 2, we can get right into our appointment setting system, which is to get permission to make a recommendation. Ben, can I just... If Ben says no, that's exactly what we're looking for, automatically, we do not need to continue to ask questions on the script. We know we've got a seller that has desire, they have motivation, they want to sell. Beautiful. Let's not keep talking our way out of something. Let's just say simply, well, listen, I guess that's the reason why I was calling, Ben. Can I make a recommendation real quick?
Yeah.
Because we give up so much control, the prospect always says yes. Matter of fact, just on a quick side note, I almost want to show the audience this. The attorney for like this commission lawsuit thing was on CNBC, I think, the other day, and they were arguing with one of the CEOs with one of these major companies. You guys see that clip yet?
Mm-mm.
I might have seen a piece of it, yeah.
I mean, there was the best example of this of all time. I mean, they're arguing back and forth, like cutting each other off like crazy. And the attorney, although don't love the guy, did something super tactical. He said, "Can I ask you a question?" That was it. They're just arguing, talking over each other. He said, Dominic, can I just ask you a question? And when you do that, magic happens. The person says, sure. He got the other person, his adversary, to be quiet, to listen. And that person, he gained control by giving up. He gained control by giving the illusion that he didn't have it anymore. Anyway, I'll show you guys maybe after this episode. And so, can I make a recommendation? It slows everything down. It opens up a curiosity loop. What is this person going to say? Then we can get into asking for that appointment. So Dominic, listen, it sounds like you still want to sell. I mean, if you want, that's that's language that would support Dominic's autonomy to decide what he wants to do. Yes or no, maybe so, doesn't matter. If you want, I would be happy on your benefit, right? I'd be happy to schedule some time to come see the house. And Dominic, listen, when I'm there, I can show you a plan that we're using with our clients right now to get properties just like yours sold in this crazy market. And then after you've seen the plan, Dominic, you can decide for yourself if potentially hiring me makes sense or not. And listen, if it doesn't, it's okay. You could tell me. I promise you won't hurt my feelings. Is that something you'd be totally opposed to, right? No orientation. Dominic says, well, no, I wouldn't be totally against that. No matter what Dominic says, as soon as I have a semblance of agreement, I am now going to do a double tie down. I'm going to sell against buyer's remorse. Because how many times have you guys set an appointment just for the buyer or the prospect to text you right back? You know what? I got to cancel that. You know what? Never mind. You know what? I had second thoughts. Never mind. Happens all the time. That's called buyer's remorse. So we do a double tie down. So Dominic says, no, I guess I'm not totally against that. I then use something straight from Dr. Cialdini, and we use the because strategy. The word because is so powerful because it justifies to the logic brain. Watch how this works. So Dominic says, well, sure, I'd be open to that. I say, well, yeah, it makes sense because, I mean, let's face it. I mean, the only way you'd even consider hiring me is if you were 100% confident that I could get the job done. Am I right? And of course, Dominic says, that's right, because otherwise he wouldn't do it. And this is how we use the double tie down to set appointments. Dominic, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, you and I had a conversation about this a week or two ago, where that's something that further strengthened my appointment met ratio, right? The appointment set, you can get really good at that, but it's the appointment met that takes you to that next level. And adding that double tie down, it's a game changer. I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah, well, and Ben, I'm going to come to you in a second too. I think you just hit the nail on the head. At some point, you're going to get pretty good at getting people to say yes, they want to meet with you. And what often happens, I see this all the time, right? People are in different seasons of their skill set. First, it's impossible to get them on the phone. Then they start making some contacts. Then they start generating some leads. They don't set any appointments. Then they start setting a lot of appointments, and all of them are canceling, right? And they're like, what am I doing wrong? And it's exactly what we're talking about right here. Ben, what's your thought on the appointment framework that we just kind of outlined?
At the end of the day, we want to work with people that want to work with us. And if they don't, and they aren't a lead, or they don't want to do anything, or they're not going to do something, we talk about it all the time. I want to know right now, and I want to give them every opportunity without them feeling like they're tricked or I'm running a play on them or anything. And that's what this does. It allows them the out if they want it. It allows them to enter into it if that's also what they want, without really like the stress of I'm being sold right now over the phone. I'm just agreeing to meet. I don't know you, you don't know me, and we can really flush that out in person. And you've given them, that foreshadow of some people say no, and that's okay, and I'm okay with that. I'm not gonna tie you down to a decision right now. And I think that's the key.
This is how we lower sales resistance, y'all. This is how, if you're constantly getting people resisting you, it's because the way you communicate, number one, you've got a large responsibility on how people respond to you. It's because you keep eliciting the defense mechanism called psychological reactance. You keep doing it. You're the reason the prospect is resisting you. And just to Ben's point, the way in which we lower sales resistance is to offer the opportunity for them to say no right now. When you dangle that bait, it's another magic trick. Typically, prospects' compliance with what you want increases. And the opposite is also true. If I want an appointment and I'm coming across as salesy or trying to convince them or persuade them or push them into what I want, the likelihood of compliance decreases. So I think a lot of new salespeople just get really confused about this, right? And I don't want to get into it too deeply, but the more we invite the prospect to say no, the safer they feel to say yes. I hope people really understand that. And so, listen, I guess for the audience's sake is to do exactly what we did to do what we said at the beginning. Download the script book, practice the scripts. I know we went in great detail around a lot of tactical things in today's episode. Go back and listen to it. Rewatch it, role play it, pause it, write it down, look at the scripts, and it's all in the delivery. It's not in the words. You can have the words on that script all day long, and if you read them, nothing will happen. All three of us would tell you the same thing. If you go on stage and you go on your next phone call, Dominic, can I ask you a question, please? It's not going to work. So it's all about how we deliver the words, not the words themselves.
Can I just add something here, Brandon?
Please. Yeah.
Yeah. So in this appointment setting script, I know you didn't emphasize it, but when you offer to share a completely new strategy and then don't talk about what the strategy is, that is such a powerful curiosity loop for somebody who's had their house on the market for 4 months and hasn't got an offer. Right?
Great point.
How can they resist that?
Great point. Yeah, and we'll do another episode, maybe just going deeper on the appointment setting system, because you're right. That part of the movie trailer script that we really didn't get into right now is like something that prospects can't resist over the phone. They just can't resist it. They have to say, "Wow, I just have to figure out what this is going to be." They have to close the loop, right? So thank you guys. Appreciate it like always. And again, grab your guys' script book. It's in the description beneath this video.